Welcome to the EY India Insights podcast. I'm your host Ragini, and in this episode, we try and decode the interim budget for FY25 in order to bring out the key macroeconomic messages. To facilitate this discussion, we are joined by Dr. D.K. Srivastava, a distinguished economist, honorary professor, Madras School of Economics, and EY India's chief policy advisor. A very warm welcome, Dr. Srivastava.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let us kick off by getting a perspective on the key takeaways from the vote on account budget. Dr. Srivastava, what do you think have been the key economic priorities of the government as evidenced from the interim budget? In particular, are there any growth signals emanating from the budget?
Well, from a macro fiscal perspective, it is the balance between fiscal consolidation and support to economic growth, which has been the guiding feature of the FY25 budget. Now, from the viewpoint of fiscal consolidation, the budget has given a clear signal that after having been disturbed in the COVID year, when fiscal deficit had slipped to 9.2%, they are able to bring it down incrementally in the FY24 revised estimates to 5.8%, which is an improvement over the budget estimate of 5.9%, and then bring it down further to 5.1 in FY25 and 4.5% in FY26. So clearly, the emphasis on fiscal consolidation will be received very well by the private sector, where investment possibilities are being examined, as well as the multinational organizations and other stakeholders who look towards the fiscal sustainability of Government of India's budget. Now, the second feature is that in order to support growth, the momentum on capital expenditure growth has been sustained, in the sense that in the FY24 budget, using the estimate of the revised estimates for FY24, the realized growth may be close to 28%. And in FY25, when we consider budget estimates over revised estimates, the growth rate in capital expenditure can be nearly 17%. Further, the central government has continued with the program to support the state governments with their existing scheme of extending a 50-year interest-free loans, if such loans are to be used for state government capital expenditure. So this scheme has done very well in FY24, and it has been extended with an enhanced amount in FY25, and I expect that this will support growth. The third feature is that as fiscal deficit is reduced, the center's dependence on market borrowing would go down, and this will facilitate eventually a regime where interest rate reduction may be feasible. This will spur private investment. So in this sense, the budget has established a robust balance between fiscal consolidation and support to growth.
Right. Thank you for your lucid and thoughtful insights, sir. My second question is, in your assessment, are the tax revenue growth estimates for FY24 RE and FY25 BE realistic?
Well, in terms of the revised estimates, the growth in direct taxes has been very high at 17.2%. This has been lowered marginally to 13.1% in FY25. As against this, the indirect taxes had grown somewhat lower at 7%, and this has been enhanced to 9.4%. Now, together, therefore, gross tax revenues of the central government show a growth of 12.5% in FY24 and 11.5% in FY25.
Right.
These growth rates respond to nominal GDP growth and tax buoyancies, assumed tax buoyancies. Now, in terms of the realism, the tax buoyancy has been brought down from 1.4 to 1.1, which in some sense is somewhat conservative. And if the buoyancy improves a little bit, there would be a higher realized tax revenue in FY25. This may be further positively affected by the nominal growth assumptions. The nominal growth that has been assumed is 10.5, and that appears to be somewhat lower than our expectation of close to 11%. So given both of these factors may turn out to be somewhat better, we might do better in terms of the assumed gross tax revenues.
Right, sir. Thank you for explaining it so vividly. My last question is, can we say that India is well on its path towards fiscal consolidation? And is the fiscal deficit target of 4.5% of GDP, as was mentioned by the FM, achievable? And when would you think the FRBM target of 3% would be reached?
Well, the dynamics of fiscal imbalance is such that when some major macro shock occurs, just as we experienced the COVID shock in FY21, centre's fiscal deficit had shot up to 9.2%. So the increase happens in one shot. The improvement back to normalcy takes several years. So from 9.2, we reduced it to 6.7, then 6.4, then 5.8, and now we are planning to bring it down to 5.1 and to 4.5 in FY26. Now, as you say, this is still well above the FRBM target of 3%. It might take another 3 years and 50 basis points of reduction per year to reach the level of 3% as envisaged in the FRBM. So the government has shown a clear commitment towards achieving normalization of the level of fiscal deficit in being consistent with FRBM, but it might take several years. So the dynamics is such that the deterioration occur in one shot and improvement occurs in it. This time it has taken, it is going to take at least 8 years.
Right. Right, sir. So these are extremely useful perspectives, Dr. Srivastava. Thank you so much for joining us in this session and providing us your invaluable insights. Thank you to all our listeners. Stay tuned for more captivating discussions on EVA India Insights. Don't forget to subscribe for the latest updates. Until next time, this is Ragini Trihan signing off.
Thank you. Thank you very much.